Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Rosie and I create Notion templates and content to help you use Notion right and take your setup to the next level for maximum productivity. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to create a streak tracker in Notion. This is a fun addition to your existing calendar database, or you can start fresh to track and log any activities. A streak tracker is a great way to stay inspired and keep up with your goals. Before diving in, I want to introduce you to my latest template, my Glow Up Diary. This template is designed to simplify and elevate every aspect of your routine, self-care, and wellness journey. The template itself is crafted with meticulous attention to detail, making it both functional and aesthetic, and it is unlike any template you've ever seen, and I stand by this. But what I want to highlight here is the custom iPhone integration. This has been a complete game changer. With just a tap, you can log your entries directly and it seamlessly syncs your action with the Notion template in real time. The link to the template is in the description and currently you can get 10% off this template for a limited time, so be sure to check it out. Okay, so first create a new page or locate an existing page where you already have a calendar database. For this demo, I'm going to start fresh and create a new page. Give the page a name and feel free to add a cover or an icon. I'm also going to change the font and set it to full width by clicking on the three dots at the top of the page. Next, type / and search for database inline. Then click on it. Click New Table and name the database. For this demo, let's say we're tracking our language practice similar to Duolingo, so we'll name it Language Revision. I'm going to hide the database title for cleaner look, but this step is optional. Also, rename the view and feel free to add an icon. Delete all the initial entries in the database. Click on the three dots at the top right corner of the database, choose Layout and switch View to Calendar. Go back and if you look at Properties, you'll see Date property added automatically. We don't need Tag property, so we'll delete that. Now we're going to create a second database, but before that, I'm just going to quickly create two columns by typing /2 columns and place the calendar database on the right, so we can place the database side by side for better visualization. On the left, type /database and select database inline again and click plus new table. Name the database and I'm going to call it streak counter, but feel free to name it however you like. Again, for this demo, I'm hiding the database title. I'm also going to delete the tag property since we don't need it here. Also, since we are only tracking entries from one calendar database, we are going to delete 2 entries from the database, leaving only 1. Name the remaining entry and let's call it language streak. In the streak counter database, create a relation property by clicking on the plus sign and link it to language revision database. We'll make this two-way relation by clicking on the toggle, then click on Add Relation. Not only you'll see the relation property on the streak counter database, but also you'll see the relation properties in the language revision database. Let's change the name here to counter. We want all the entries in language revision database to be accumulated and counted towards this tracker. If you already have an entry on a language revision database, I'm just going to create one for demo here. On relation property counter, link a page or entry language streak. Do that for all entries. Then, for the future entries to be linked to the page language streak, set up the filter such that every time you create a new entry in the database, it counts relevant entries towards the streak counter. Now comes the fun part. In the streak counter database, create a formula property and name it streak. Now open up the formula by clicking Edit Formula. The idea is straightforward. We'll calculate the differences between consecutive dates and identify where the gap exceeds one day, signaling a break in the streak. If such breaks are found, we'll extract the latest date after the gap and count how many entries follow it to determine the streak length. If no break is detected, meaning that the streak is unbroken, we'll simply return the total number of entries as the streak length. Doing this in Notion requires the following process. First, we'll extract the list of dates from the entries in the language revision properties right over here and store this in a variable named list of dates. Next, we'll create a new list based on the previous list, but this time we're going to modify a bit. For example, if you have a list of dates like October 17th, 18th, 20th, 21st, and 23rd, we'll first shift the dates to the left, resulting in 18th, 20th, 21st, and 23rd. Then we'll modify this list by adding today's date, today is 24th, giving us the final list of 18th, 20th, 21st, 23rd, and 24th. We restore this in a variable named listOfDatePushed. Now we can subtract each element in listOfDatePushed from listOfDates and look for differences greater than 1. Now we'll find the most recent date from listOfDatePushed that meets the criterion and store this into a variable breakoff. Finally, we're left with 2 cases. 1. The breakup is empty, which means that the streak has not been broken. And second, breakup is not empty, indicating that the streak has been interrupted at some point. In the first case, we can simply count the number of entries in listOfDate. In the second case, we can retrieve the entries that are greater than or equal to the breakup date from listOfDate, then count those entries to find the length of the streak. Now we are going to implement this in Notion formula. So as we discussed previously, we need to have multiple variables, such as listOfDates, listOfDatePushed, and breakoff. In Notion, this can be accomplished by using a function let. I'm going to quickly go over its syntax. So you first declare the variable, it shouldn't be enclosed in a quotation mark, followed by the values to be stored in the variable, and these are separated by a comma. Value can be pretty much anything. Here I'm storing a text value, but it can be date, number, list, etc. And this pattern continues for the second variable and its corresponding value, and so on. After declaring the variables however many as you like, you can input an expression, which is basically a calculation or operation you want to perform using the variables. Here in the expression, I'm simply calling the variables that I created, and you can see the corresponding values being returned. So this is just a quick demo, and if you want to learn more about the formula, I'll link my blog post down below in the description box. I'm going to delete the demo, and let's create a variable called listOfDates that contains all the dates from the pages or the entries from the language revision property. So type listOfDate, then comma, and under properties, click on language revision, the relation property, which includes all the pages or entries from the language revision database that have been linked. So we want to retrieve the dates of the pages or the entries, and that can be done using the function map. Inside the bracket, type in current. Current enables you to access the property value of each page or entry being processed. So if you simply type in current, it will return the page or an entry as it is. Right now, I will quickly create the expression and call the variable listOfDates for you to see what's inside the variable. By adding a dot after current, you can access its individual properties. So I'm typing dot date to access the date property. You can see the list of dates right below. Now that we have extracted the dates, we are going to use sort function to arrange the dates in ascending order. Simply type dot sort and add the bracket. We successfully stored the list in the variable listOfDate. Next, we are creating a new variable called listOfDatesPushed. Create a new line and type listOfDatePushed. Add comma and we're going to define the value to store. First, we'll copy and paste the value of the listOfDate variable, but we need to perform more operations just as we described in the idea section. We'll simulate the effect of shifting the dates to the left by removing the first entry from the list. This can be achieved using a slice function. By passing 1 as an argument, we create a new list that starts from index 1 and extends to the end, effectively excluding the first element at index 0. And we can use concat to append today's date to the end. The function concat only accepts list as a parameter. So what you have to do is type .concat and inside the bracket, type in square bracket to create the list. Then within it, type today bracket, which is a function that returns today's date. We now have successfully created a modified list and stored in the variable listOfDatePushed. Next, we are going to find the breakoff point as in the date when the streak was broken. So on a new line, we'll define a variable named breakoff. Then add comma, and now let's calculate the values to be stored in breakoff. As we discussed earlier, we'll calculate the differences between the dates in listOfDatePushed and listOfDate, comparing the dates at corresponding position in both lists. In order to do this, we are first going to call the variable listOfDatePushed, then apply a function filter on it, which will filter out the elements in the list that meet specific condition, in our case where the differences in date at the same position are greater than 1. So type current inside the bracket to retrieve each element in the list. Before I continue, I'll quickly show you what's in the breakoff. At the moment, nothing has been filtered out, so it looks exactly the same as the list of date pushed. And then we're going to apply the function dateBetween, which takes in two parameters, date and unit. The date we will input is the date from list of dates at the same position as the element in the list of date pushed. And that can be achieved by calling a function add-onListOfDate and passing index as an argument. The index essentially marks the position of the element. We want to calculate the differences in days, so we're going to type days as a unit. Nothing has changed yet, and that is because what's inside the bracket is not a condition, but if you switch from filter to map, you can see that this maps out the differences. So this is just to show you, and let's switch back to filter and apply the condition of being greater than 1. So simply type greater than 1. And as you can see, the list is now filtered to show the date where the streak was broken and restarted. We are also applying the function sort to arrange these dates in ascending order. Finally, call last to retrieve the date when the streak was last cut off. So now we have finished saving the variables, and now we'll create an expression to calculate the streak number. First, we'll use the if statement to check if breakup is empty. So type if and bracket, and this takes in three parameters: the condition, what to do if the condition is true, and what to do if it is false. For the condition, we'll check if breakup is empty by calling function empty on breakoff. If it is empty, simply return the number of entries in list of dates, which can be done by calling the function length on list of dates. In the case where it is not empty, as discussed previously, we'll filter out dates that are greater than or equal to breakoff by calling filter and adding the condition that the current element in each list is greater than or equal to breakoff. This will return the list, and we'll call the function length to find the number of entries. And that is it for the formula. You can test it out by moving the entries on the calendar database. Also, feel free to add the fire emoji at the very beginning of the expression to make it look a bit nicer. Click save, and you can see that the streak number is now joined with the fire emoji. Now we're pretty much done with the system, but we're going to give it a nicer layout. We're going to switch this to gallery view. So click on the three dots in the top right corner of the database, click layout, and select gallery. I've set the car preview to none and car size to small, but feel free to adjust this to your preference. Next, go back and click on properties, then only show streak, the formula property. And now we are all set. We can also create a button that will automatically add an entry to the database. To do this, type /button, click plus add action. Choose Add Page To and select Language Revision Database or whatever you name your calendar database. Give the title, I'm just gonna say New Entry. Next, find the Date property, select it, and choose Date Trigger. We're also going to select Counter property, and within it, we're going to link the page language streak. Before we click save, let's give the button a name. I'm just going to say create a new entry and click done. So now whenever you press the button, it will create a new entry in the language revision database or the calendar database for the current date, and the streak will update accordingly. Similar to the if statement we used to calculate streaks, we can also display the date the streak started. In the streak formula, at the very end of the expression, type plus and we'll add the text start in a new line by typing \n start. This is how it looks like right now, and we'll then join it with a new expression that returns a date. This new expression will be very similar to the if statement at the very top. It will be such that if the breakup is empty, the formula will return the earliest date in the list of date, and this can be done by applying the function first on list of date. Otherwise, we are simply returning the value that is being stored in breakoff, which is the date when the streak last cut off. Click save and you can test it out. Last but not least, you can add an extra counter to the streak counter database to manage multiple streak. First, create a new entry in the streak counter database for your new streak. Name it depending on what it is for. I'm going to say this to track whether I meet the daily water intake goal, so I'm going to name it hydration streak. Once that's done, go back and go to the calendar database and duplicate the view right over here and rename it to reflect the new streak you're tracking. Also, feel free to rename the database as well, since before we assumed that it is only going to be for tracking language streak. Now, on this new view, click on Filter, unlink the previously linked entry, and link the new entry in the streak counter database we just created. And that is it. Now, each time you add a new entry in this new view, it will automatically update the correct streak counter. Also, you can create a button to streamline this process. So just duplicate the button that we created from step 7, then click on the gear icon and rename the button and update the name, the title property. Unlink the entry currently connected to the counter and link it to the new entry that we created. Click done, and that is it. And we are all done with this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!